Hi, this is Mike Dobbs, Managing Editor for Reminder Publications, and welcome to another edition of Government Matters. In this episode, we have the opportunity of interviewing the incumbent candidates for Springfield City Council and School Committee who attended Sheriff Nick Cocchi's first annual picnic. Okay, so next up is another Ken. This is Ken Shea, Ward 6 City Councilor, former school committee member as well, and he's running for re-election. So Ken, what do you see as the primary issue as an incumbent that you want to carry on if you're elected to another term?
Well, I think probably there's a couple of items. One is to stay focused on code enforcement and housing issues in the city of Springfield, because they directly affect quality of life. And the other issue, which I have championed from the beginning, and fortunately it's got a lot more leg now with Senator Lesser, and that's the east-west train service from Springfield to Boston. I think that that's critical, and I'm sort of disappointed in the way it's been handled by the state. It almost seems like jurisdictional arrogance that the other end of the state would take the position it has, especially where they just put like a couple $1 billion into fixing up a line that was already there, and we have nothing here in Western Massachusetts. So I'm going to try to make that a focus and see if we can't get together with the other communities in this area and some of the state reps and see if we can't make a push to get this in place.
In terms of Ward 6, are there particular issues facing your ward that you're
well,
dealing
Ward
with?
6 is really what we're facing up there is we have a fairly high crime rate in parts of the ward, and the C3 initiative has made a big indent in cracking down on that crime and the drug dealing in that part of the city. And the other is, of course, the emphasis to keep Forest Park in great condition as it has been. You know, we've just put in new tennis courts, and so those are a couple of big issues up there. Also, traffic at the X. There's a study going on now to see if there's any way we can improve that without major disruption to the way the city is set up at that point in time.
Springfield, as an older city, of course, has streets that were designed for horse and buggy.
Correct. Right.
Which we've inherited.
Right.
In my neighborhood of Six Corners, we got the hideous Six Corners that they're talking about trying to put a rotary in, which I'm trying to get my head around. I know a preliminary plans I saw for the X looked like it would be fairly disruptive to what
one of the plans. Yeah, one of the plans was a real major overhaul. And the problem with that plan was it required extending Oakland Street straight across, which would take a piece of park property. The idea was to loop that traffic going out towards Long Meadow around out of the X. But there were pieces of that I think can be put in place, and that's what they're trying to study now. I mean, that's 6 to 8 years out before anything concrete really happens there. But there's got to be a way to make some improvement in the traffic flow. Even if it's the signaling and the lights and synchronization and just a few changes, I think they can make a difference.
As a member of the City Council right now, of course, I know one of your president's particular concerns has been casino oversight. Are you happy with what's going on with MGM right now in terms of its progress and in terms of some of the other issues like the housing component, which hasn't been settled yet?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with the way MGM has been moving so far. I mean, they certainly are on target to open that on time. They certainly have met their quotas and their targets on the hiring and the job creation in the area, which is critical. The housing piece is a piece of the overall MGM program. That has had some bumps in it, but I think that it's more important to get that housing piece right than to just get housing. I was never a fan of using the former school department headquarters. I just don't think, however you develop that for housing, it's going to be effective. The current plan that's in place now seems to be using a piece of 31 Elm, putting some housing on the top floor there, and the rest of it is hotel. That's a far more critical piece to the downtown area than fixing 195 State. So I mean, that's going to get done. Is it going to get done maybe as fast as everyone thought? I don't think so. But the main thing with the casino is to get the casino open, and to get those jobs in place, and get that money flowing into the city. And we can always deal with, and they will deal with, the housing issue and get it done properly, rather than just get it done to get it done.
Ken, thanks for taking some time for us. We'll see you on the campaign trail, man.
Okay, thank you very much.
you.
Appreciate it.
So our next guest is longtime City Councilor Kateri Walsh, who is up for re-election as an at-large councilor. So, what do you see as the particular issues that are concerning you right now? You would, if you're re-elected, you would bring back to the council?
Well, I think it's jobs and job security are always out there. And I think with a lot of the jobs that are coming with MGM and with the Chinese trolley car, I mean, people feel very good and very optimistic about what's going on in Springfield. What I think is different this time around is I think there's a real sense of optimism and hope in Springfield that hasn't been there before, that people feel we're going in the right direction. I do think, however, that we have to be concerned about, I think what's going on in the country is a major concern with any kind of hate speech, any kind of incidents, and I think that is going to impact the city. I think that we really have a responsibility to come together. And I'd like to congratulate my colleagues on the City Council, because even though we are very diverse and represent a lot of different wards and constituencies, I think that we've worked really hard to present a united front on any sensitive issues like that. And I think that's what we should do as leaders in the city.
Well, I have to say that the Springfield City Council is one of the most diverse councils in the area. It really does reflect the makeup of the city in many, many ways, which I think is a real positive for our city.
I do too.
You brought up MGM. Are you happy with the progress so far with MGM? Are you concerned at all about the housing component, since that hasn't been settled as yet?
Well, I'll tell you, I still miss the tower. I was a big fan of the tower, but I think that they have kept their commitment for jobs, which is what, all the construction jobs and the jobs to come after the facility is built. And I think it's just so positive to see that rising up on the middle of our main street. And I think that they're doing a really good job of keeping their commitments. I think the housing will eventually be settled. I do think it's worth saving 31 Elm. My husband had an office there years ago. A beautiful, beautiful building. I mean, right on the corner of Court Square. An iconic, historic building, and I think we should try to preserve that. So I think the delay, I don't like the delay, but I think that in the end, it will be worth the wait.
And as you're campaigning, what are people telling you? What are they talking about as concerns in the city?
Well, people, as I said, they're always concerned about jobs, about education, and changes from week to week, as the changing landscape of the city council has been changing. But people are really people this time around, and I think it's a reflection of the national mood. They're very concerned about what's going on and what direction we're going in. How much of that will filter down to our level, I am not sure, but the unfortunate Facebook posting by the police officer certainly has not helped. And one thing I thought about that was that, to me, that particular incident reinforces the need for a police commission, because I feel a police commission would have taken action, and I think they would be much more responsive to the concerns that I've heard and seen in the community for something to be done ASAP.
Kateri, as always, a pleasure to speak with you, and I'm sure we're going to speak many times more during this election campaign. Well, we have in the past.
It's nice to see you in this format on Media Row. This is great. First time they've ever done this, right?
Yes, it is.
I really like it.
It gives us some respect.
And you don't have to run around looking for people.
No. Yeah. They come to me. It's very nice.
Yeah, this is very nice.
Thank you, Kateri.
Thank you, Michael.
We're here with incumbent City Councilor Marcus Williams, who's running for re-election.
Yes.
Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
I've been asking some similar questions to everyone, and one of the questions I've been asking is, when you're campaigning door to door, what are people talking to you about as their concerns and as their issues?
Well, I would say, Mike, it's been primarily just those quality of life issues, ranging from just, not having adequate streets with potholes, to public safety issues, which is definitely more macro level. And I know that the DA and as well as Nick Cocchi and the rest of us elected officials are doing our due diligence and trying to see to it that we can curb the crime in the city, but there's no easy solution to that. So when I do knock on doors, it's definitely been public safety and those quality of life issues that affect everyone regardless of race, income, level, just because you live in the city of Springfield.
Right. We're entering an interesting year coming in 2018 because at the end of it, we're going to have the opening of MGM.
Yes.
And I know the City Council, with its Casino Oversight Committee, has been very concerned about making sure they understand what the progress of the development is, but they also want to make sure that the promises made by MGM are fulfilled.
Right.
What's your point of view right now? Are you happy with what's going on?
I don't think I'll ever be completely happy with what's going on, just because we do not have a person who represents the city that works as a compliance officer to make sure that whatever is contained within the host community agreement and the site plan, of course, that stuff is being followed. That's crucial. I think MGM to this point in time has lived up to many of its commitments, which I am happy to see, especially with the redevelopment of the old building that has come before the council recently. I think that's going to be great market rate housing for the community, and I think it's one of the cornerstones of the kind of just the aesthetical appeals of the city. So I'm looking forward to continue to work with MGM to ensure that they are living up to those commitments as well as with the council.
Also looking forward, we're at this point where we've had 3 major economic development projects: Union Station, the Chinese Railcar Company, and MGM. They're all online. We're seeing the finish line with all of them.
Right.
What do you think should be next in terms of economic development? What would you like to see?
That's good. That's a great question, Mike. And I always like to turn my attention to small business development. I think there's not enough eyes on not only the creation of small businesses, but the retention of them as well. We have, the taxes that are imposed on small business owners are sometimes ridiculous, and it kind of, of course, it deters them from wanting to stay in the city of Springfield, and that should never be the goal. So I would like to see a refocus on not just some of these larger grand, kind of developments, but also on the mom and pop shops that are in the city as well.
Excellent. Marcus, thanks for coming by, man.
Appreciate it.
We'll be talking to you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're here with City Council President Orlando Ramos, who is going to be running for another term as the City Councilor. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I'm asking some pretty standard questions to all the candidates. What are you hearing from constituents? What are you hearing from people as you're campaigning, as their principal concerns or questions or worries about the city of Springfield?
I think public safety is always the number one priority for a lot of people's minds. It's always one of their biggest concerns. City of Springfield has made some very big improvements as far as public safety. The numbers are down. The number of crimes are down. That's always a good sign. I'm hearing a lot of positive things from the people. They're happy with the things that are happening in the city. They're encouraged by the amount of economic development that is happening in the city, and they're happy with sort of the resurgence of the city of Springfield.
Now, I know that you've been very much a proponent for a police commission.
Yes.
We had a recent incident, which I'm sure you've heard about the Springfield police officer posting on Facebook.
Yes.
Something that everyone deemed as highly inappropriate.
Sure.
Do you think that there would be a better structure for response to such incidences if we had a police commission than the current arrangement?
Well, the goal is to have a more open and transparent process, and that's something that can be provided through a police commission. I think that a lot of people feel that there isn't as much transparency in that sort of process now, and there are also loopholes for people to avoid going before the existing community review board that's in place, and so the police commission would take care of some of those or close some of those loopholes and make it a more open process for people.
Now we've got, this is another question I'm retreading because it's getting toward the end of the day. I'm tired now. 2018 is going to be a huge year. We've got Union Station will be fully used in 2018, fully utilized. The Chinese railcar company is going to come on board. MGM is going to come on board. So what is our second chapter in terms of economic development? What would you like to see, what would you advocate for in terms of continuing the momentum that we have in the city? What would you like to see as additional economic development?
I would love to see minor league baseball in the city of Springfield. I mean, I know that there are a lot of hurdles.
You've opened yourself up. I'm going to ask you, where do we put the stadium, Orlando?
I mean, I guess there are options, right? We've looked at some options on downtown near the old Peter Pan station. I know that there was a proposal years ago for the Northgate Plaza there. I mean, there's land available, and there are places that we can put it. The tricky part is how do we get the team? Because now, I guess one of the biggest obstacles that we have is the deal that Hartford has, and I guess the moratorium within a certain radius.
Right.
And so that makes it difficult. And how do we overcome that? I don't know. But I would love to see minor league baseball here in the city of Springfield. I would also love to see another D-League basketball team come back. You know, we lost the Armor a few years ago. I would love to see us get another basketball team back. I guess they call it the Gatorade League now.
Okay.
So I would love to see another G-League team come back to Springfield because we are the birthplace of basketball. It only makes sense that we have our own basketball team. And I think that now that we have so much economic development, we have so many people that are excited about the city of Springfield, we're going to see an increase in our population in the city. We're going to see an increase in our tax base, and I think that we're ready to support those sort of endeavors.
Excellent. In terms of budget concerns, are you worried about just the flow of money into the city? You know, we've got a tight economic situation here statewide. The federal government is a big question mark about what's happening there. So are you concerned about having the funding to do the things that we really need to do in Springfield?
Sure. I mean, that's always a concern. It's always when we rely on, and on municipalities rely on, state funds and federal funds, and so it's always worrisome the prospect of losing that sort of source of funding, and so we always worry about those things, and that's why it's so important for us to do what we can for economic development and job creation, so that we make sure that we employ our people and increase our tax base here in the city, because we can't always rely on those funds coming from the federal government going up or state funds going up. We can't always rely on that, and so we have to create our own sort of mechanism to create more resources.
Excellent. Orlando, thank you much.
Thank you.
We'll
Absolutely.
be talking again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anytime.
Okay, we've got incumbent city councilor Adam Gomez with us. Thanks for coming by, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Okay, so what we're doing here is talking to candidates, both incumbents and challengers, about some of the issues that are facing them, especially with the Springfield City Council race. I've been asking people, what are they hearing from their constituents? When you do door-to-door, when you talk to people, what are they saying to you in terms of their questions, their concerns, their worries?
In my case, my constituent base is more, they're happy with how the crime has fallen. There's still isolated incidents that have been happening that alarm people that they see in the media. But more or less, my constituent base is more an opportunity, jobs. I know that there's a lot of talk about there's the 3.3 economic development jobs coming to Springfield, but sometimes people are saying, well, where are they? And now people need to understand that, they're doing a lot of job training. So then when these facilities and these places do open, that we have a qualified workforce. So, we have some things that, small issues like pertaining to the trash fee that people are kind of a little scared about. PVTA getting rid of some of their stops. That's another big one when it comes to our elderly and when a lot of our community use that as transportation. But I guess it depends on where you're knocking, what's the issue, because some of the stuff that's happening in the North End or in the South End on Memorial Square ain't really the same issues that are going on up high on the hill. passing 16 acres. So with my benefit that I don't have to knock all the way up there as of yet. You're not cluing in on anything else past that, but I do get a lot of emails. Like the last one really was over the weekend with the officer that made those comments about the young lady that passed away in Charlottesville. But I get a lot of emails from around the city, not necessarily always from my district, but on the door knocking level, it's more more personal things, not necessarily municipal things. Maybe a little bit of lighting issues in some areas, but we've been taking care of that in Ward 1.
Now, you brought up this recent incident concerning a Springfield police officer and his remarks on Facebook. I just asked Orlando Ramos whether or not a police commission would be more helpful in dealing with situations like that. Do you think the commission would add greater transparency, more immediate response when we do have situations involving police officers?
I am pro-police commission, but I also do have faith in our Commissioner Barbieri. It really gives us a bad rap when incidents like this do happen, and difficult decisions that probably a committee could see and investigate what's going on, could make sure that they can make the right decision instead of leaving it to one person, one man. But so far, so good. I think that we're still working in the community, trying to see what on the grassroots level, what's the conversation, and the conversation is still that they want a police commission. And pertaining to this incident, I think that something should be done. I think it needs to happen because a lot of our constituent base needs to have faith in our police department that whoever is in charge, let it be our commissioner or a commission, which what the public wants, that the right decision is going to be made. And that's for some kind of a repercussion, some kind of consequence. That's what they want to see. Not saying that the gentleman might lose his job, but we need to show that we have a zero tolerance for these kind of instances that happen, that this doesn't happen on anybody's watch, that our silence is our complicity, that if we don't speak up and say something, we're going to continue letting things like this happen. And that was just Facebook. Imagine if it was something that happened to one of our residents and they would have made that kind of statement. It's not. It doesn't sit well with me at all.
We have to be cognizant that in Springfield we have had problems between members of the police department and residents. Sometimes these are racially charged. Right now we're in a society that seems to be even more racially charged. Thankfully, I'm not including our city or our state in this, but in other parts of the country, this seems to be accelerating. So certainly, police instances like this are important concern.
I think it is important because it's not a secret that it's in the media that we do have situations that really look very racially motivated, and we're trying our best to really figure these issues out. But at the same time, when it comes to things that are in adjudication or litigation, whatever the right terminology, it's hard to really know all the facts until they all come out, because they only give you just a little.
Right.
And when something's under investigation, it's really difficult. But when it comes to primarily the issues that have happened, like at Nathan Bill's, or the issue that happened on I think it was with the gentleman that Melvin that he had got assaulted by some police officers, and the things in the past on Worthington with Asher, and then he got locked up. Those stuff happened in Springfield.
Right.
And that's something that we need to remember, that it's not like it never happened in our backyard. And what are we doing to make sure that that stuff doesn't happen again? And why are we back at this conversation again and trying to find a way out of it? And why is it that we haven't created a policy or something to work on to make sure these things don't happen? And the age of technology now, it's a blessing and a curse. Every single phone has a camera, so whenever something happens, that camera goes on, and it's not the pen is mightier than the sword anymore.
Right.
It's more, we got it on film.
Right.
And from there, that's what we need to figure out. And that's why I'm pro also body camera. We had a Exxon came by and gave a presentation at the police headquarters. So, we're trying to see if the union can come to terms with, putting cameras on the cop cars and also on their bodies.
Excellent. Adam, thanks for coming by. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So we're here with incumbent City Councilor Justin Hurst, who is running for re-election. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me. Absolute pleasure to be here.
Okay, so this is going to be a very interesting election because we have a very crowded slate coming in.
Yes. And you know what? It's great. It's great for the city of Springfield. It's great that you have so many people that, are interested in making a difference in this great city.
So 2018 is going to be this big year. We got the Chinese rail car company coming on board. We got MGM coming on board. Union Station is going to be reaching basically its full potential. But what is the next chapter that you'd like to see as a city councilor in terms of economic development?
I think you need a couple different things. I think one, you need to continue to make downtown an attractive place for young people to come and live, work, and enjoy. I think you need to cultivate the arts to the extent that you can, and I think on top of that, you need to invest in small businesses. Those small businesses were around before the casino, and it's imperative that they're around after the casino.
Well, all the economic data will tell you that the majority of jobs are generated by small businesses in Massachusetts. You don't think the city is doing enough to try to get those small businesses and maintain them and nurture them?
I think the city's doing a good job. I think we can always do better. We can always improve. And, to the extent that we can invest in incubator programs to grow these small businesses, we should do that. I think MGM only helps. And to the extent that we can use these small business, we can use MGM as an anchor, and then these small businesses can come in on the back end. I think it'll make a difference in the city of Springfield.
What are people talking to you about on the campaign trail? When you do door knocking, when you have meetings, what is the average person saying to you that they want to see?
Well, I think people are optimistic. I think for all of the things that you just named from an economic development standpoint, I think people are optimistic. I think what people really want, however, is for the neighborhoods to not get lost in the shuffle. And so I think to the extent that we can put the neighborhoods at the forefront, I think Springfield will continue to grow, and will continue to be a place where people really want to raise a family and come and enjoy.
The C3 policing initiative has seen some success. Would you like to see that spread to other neighborhoods in the city?
I tell you what, we can't have all of our police force concentrated in the downtown area just because the casino's here. I think there are a lot of other areas in the city who, would like to see C3 policing, and, I think to the extent that we can do it in a financially sound manner, then we should do so.
And speaking of finances, there's a lot of uncertainty on the state level about just how good our state budget is there. A lot of uncertainty on the federal level. Does that concern you when you have to grapple with spending issues on the city council?
Of course it does. I think things start at the top and they trickle down. And I think anytime you have some uncertainty, it causes us reason to be a little timid in terms of our spending. I think we need to balance that, along with the needs that we have for the city of Springfield, and we need to prioritize accordingly.
Excellent. Justin, thank you much, sir.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for watching this edition of Government Matters. We have another program featuring the challenging candidates for seats on the City Council and School Committee, and I hope that you take the time to watch that as well.